Tonight on Let It Rip, fighting crime, fighting blight, and fighting a state takeover. Detroit Mayor Dave Bing unveils his vision in the State of the City address.
Public safety is a top priority of my administration.
As the murder rate skyrockets, Mayor Dave Bing is promising to do whatever it takes to stop the surge in violence.
No Detroiter should have to live in fear. I am outraged by the insidious violence in our neighborhoods and in our city.
But while the mayor expressed his outrage, some argue he revealed few details on how to stop crime.
Dante, please stand.
Plus, praise for his efforts to keep young kids out of trouble. Tonight, true confessions from a former gang member whose story is an inspiration to teenagers and adults. Time to let it rip on the panel tonight. She was once the most powerful woman in City Hall, a trusted advisor to Mayor Dave Bing. She now runs her own media company. Karen Dumas is here. Next to her, the son of a preacher man, the host of his own TV talk show on WADL, Detroit Wants to Know, Steve Hood. Plus, one of the good guys. He carries a badge and a gun, but his heart and his home are right here in Detroit, Officer John Bennett. And as always, the man who carries a microphone and a law book, the host of the Charlie Langton Show on 1270 AM, Charlie Langton. Now, a little later, we're going to hear about a plan to give free college tuition to every student in Michigan, and you'll be the young man who's gone from gang member to city leader. But first, we had the King's speech last year, the Academy Award winner. Last night, we had the mayor's speech. Your impressions, beginning with Karen.
Well, I think the mayor did a good job on touching on the issues that I think that are important to Detroiters. Certainly the finances of the city and the quality of life, including crime, recreation, and the blight issue. I think those are the issues that are of top concern to Detroiters.
Well, Steve, there were some good things in the speech, and you've known Dave Bing for years. What did you think?
Well, I just think he left two things out. He should have said, I resign tonight. There is no way in this world that you can squander community block grant dollars. You squander $20 million in demolition. You actually have the state messing with your home weatherization, taking that away from you. Those are the least of your people. You cannot do that to anybody, let alone your own people. He needs to leave office right now. He talked about transparency. What transparency? The transparent in that saying that administration is transparent is like saying I'm anorexic, and I'm nowhere near anorexic.
Well, look, John, I thank you for being here. First of all, our condolences to you in the loss of your mother. She was a wonderful woman, and I know that she is so proud of you. Not only are you a longtime police officer, but you are also the reporter, editor, and chief manager of the website Detroit Uncovered. Now, the mayor praised police unions last night, saying that they were kind enough to give concessions. Were you happy with what you heard?
Well, I think the mayor has a tough job, and there's a lot that needs to be done. And as he said, he does need some help. We haven't voted on those concessions yet. We haven't agreed to the concessions. There's still a long road to go, but I think I'm in agreement with the mayor that he does need some help. I'm not sure if I agree with the kind of help that he needs. I'm not in agreement with the whole consent agreement idea. But he's got a tough job. He's got a tough job.
Charlie, on your radio show today, there were some people who praised the mayor, but some others, including some council members, who said they heard a lot of talk, but they didn't hear a lot of substance.
Kwame Kenyatta was on the show today. He was not particularly happy with the mayor. A lot of shortness on details, specifics. In particular, the fact that the mayor said, and we don't want an emergency manager. I don't think anybody in the city wants an emergency manager. And I'll predict that there will never be an emergency manager, because if there is, there will be a default provision on those bonds, and it will cost the city or state about $400 million. So, no emergency manager. But if you heard Dave Bing, he said he wants the state to help. But what is he actually asking for the state? That's my problem with that speech.
Well, I think we can all agree there will be no emergency manager in the city of Detroit. There might be some sort of consent decree or agreement, but an EM won't happen here.
Well, there may not be an emergency manager, but from where we sit in the police department, there are a lot of us who would prefer an emergency manager. And one of the reasons for that, Hill, is we just don't have any faith in the council. We just don't have any faith in the leadership that's there. Particularly, there are members of the council who are known for giving the wrong information and leading the people down a path that they shouldn't go. I don't think that council is up to the task.
But Karen, there are a lot of council members who complain that the mayor did not cut enough.
But Huel, they complain all the time. I mean, and the thing, and I asked this to my Facebook friends the other day, why does council like to act brand new? Like they don't know what's going on, like they have no idea. They approve the budget. Now they'll go back and give budget amendments so that the administration can get what they asked for initially. But for the cameras, it's no, we're vetoing this budget, but they'll go back and do it. So, you know, it's disingenuous and it's misleading. So they're involved and they're responsible for things, including the community development block grant funding. They're responsible for that. Sheila Cockrell, I heard her say the other day, just a second, in most other cities, there may be 20 organizations that they're able to help build capacity. Here, there are 300 organizations that get $2 or $3. They aren't able to grow, they can't build capacity, and it's inefficient and it's ineffective. So, you know, they know what's going on.
So your solution is not to spend the money at all and let it balloon up to $70 million and have it be taken away by the federal government? Come on.
The money's not going to be taken away, Steve, but council, and that was the question.
How do you know the money's not going to be taken away? Steve, you don't know that. They've already siphoned money from the state. Come on, Karen.
The point is
it's time to admit that the mayor has been impotent.
No, I disagree with that, Steve, and I think you disagree with it. I think you're acting like counsel, you know, I mean, because people being critical attracts attention, and I don't think
the point is
I'm trying to stand up for the people that live on my block.
But they have to learn to work together. Charlie, you had a comment.
The mayor is the one that has to negotiate the contracts. There's 48 unions in the city of Detroit. That is a heck of a job.
Including one union with only one member.
Person.
That's right. I understand. I know that's even bad. But listen, the police officers union, the firefighter, everybody's got to give in a little bit. Now, council has a secondary role, really. It is up to the mayor, though, to negotiate the unions, and that's what the mayor was saying at the State of the City speech, is that he needs help, and he's going to get it through probably a consent agreement that he's going to ask the legislature probably to put a little more teeth into that consent agreement. So that's what he wants.
That's one of the most misleading things that you get from members of council. The police have given $330 million over the next 5 years in pension savings that we're giving to the city. We've been to the table, we've given as much as we can give, but the information you get from some council members would make you believe that we haven't given anything. The problem
you haven't ratified your contract yet.
And that is asking for...
It's a look-see provision to see what the other unions do.
But here's the thing, we ratified a contract last September where we gave cuts, and now they're back again asking for more.
But all of this boils down to public safety and public perception about crime. And Mayor Bing says that public safety is his #1 priority. He says it comes at a time when the murder rate in the city has jumped nearly 33% from last year. Here's what he said about crime in Detroit.
No Detroiter should have to live in fear. I am outraged by the insidious violence in our neighborhoods and in our city. But Chief Godby and the police can't do it alone. We can no longer tolerate this terrorism in our city.
I agree with him. Crime is domestic terrorism. And Karen, you confided in me today that you empathize with the victims of crime because of what happened to you when you were 16.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, I've been a victim of crime. I mean, I know what it's like. When I was 16, 2 of my friends and I were robbed. We were kidnapped. You know, I've had an attempted carjacking. You know, my truck has been stolen numerous times. I mean, it's the price you pay for living in an urban area.
And when you were kidnapped, you were left in the trunk of a car.
Yes. I was.
You could have been killed.
Yes, I could have. We could have died. I mean, it was in the dead heat of the summer. We just graduated from high school, and had it not been for a citizen who responded to our bamming on the trunk and calling the police, we probably would have suffocated.
Is crime worse now than it was then, or is it the same problem?
No, it's not. I mean, and you have to remember this too, Huel. A lot of what we feed into is based on the media coverage. People get killed in the city, not just this city, but in cities across the country every day. You know, it's a spike in it, and if it's covered, then we know about it. If we didn't hear about it, it wouldn't be there.
Crime is not worse now than it was 30 years ago.
According to statistics, crime is up. Murder rate is up 33% this year alone.
Well, you know, I keep saying this, and I'm going to keep saying it until somebody hears it. We're not going to be able to get a handle on this until we get more police officers. Okay, we've lost over 1,000 officers that haven't been replaced since 2005. Detroit hasn't gotten any smaller. So we need the bodies. We need to hire. We need to put officers on the street so we can, you know, have an effect.
Now, the governor has a plan to send in state troopers. He's going to hire 180 state troopers, send them into Detroit, Saginaw, Flint.
Right.
Will that work, Steve?
It'll work, but we need to start with enforcing the laws that are on the books. That curfew, that 10 o'clock curfew, let's start there. Let's also recognize that there's a state of emergency with truancy. We've got to do more with the truancy. These kids are doing this stuff during the day a lot of times.
When they should be in school.
We also
heard the mayor speak about Project 14. That is a plan to entice police officers to move back into the city. So far, only 15 police officers have taken the mayor up on that offer. John, does this say that even police officers are afraid to bring their own families into the city that they patrol?
Well, I think there are great concerns, quality of life concerns. You know, I pay very high insurance. You know, I pay
and we have a picture of your
taxes.
house, by the way.
Yeah,
this is the house down
on
the
my block, down the street from me. There are 20 vacant and abandoned houses on my block. I don't live in Palmer Woods. I don't live in Rosedale Park. I live in the hood. If you want to bring your cameras out, I'll take you through my block. So that house has been there for 2 years, the way it is.
20 million.
The mayor is commendable that he's concerned about bringing officers back to the city, but I'm here. What's my incentive to stay here? You know, what's going to keep me here when I have to live in a neighborhood where I got to see that? You know, what's going to keep me here? What's going to keep me from moving?
What about that? What about all the money that was supposed to go to tear down these houses? Why haven't we seen more than just 6,000 houses and vacant homes torn down?
Well, the mayor made a commitment to tear down 10,000 houses in his first term, and as you heard him say in the State of the City, he's on track to tear those houses down. But at the same time, you've got people leaving the city, abandoning the homes, and so you're adding to a problem that you're working to resolve.
And thus you also have the mayor's new plan, inviting people in some specific neighborhoods, Southwest Detroit among others, homeowners in good stead who paid their taxes can buy the vacant properties next door for only $200. That sounds like a great offer, Charlie.
It is a good offer, yes, and I think they should expand it to not only houses but buildings and companies and businesses, and keep on going, and not just the house adjacent to you, but just sell off everything. Why not? There are so many vacant properties. Buy on your block. Buy the property $200, tear it down, put some requirement on it. That would be a start to this blight problem.
But
Steve, John, would you take that offer?
Absolutely. I think we got to get more people involved in helping to clean up our city too, and that's a start. I mean, Detroit is just dirty, and it needs to be clean. We need to be clean and safe. And I think we need a program, and the program that the mayor announces is probably a lead into that, getting people to come out and sweep in front of your house and clean up the lot next door to you.
So
if it comes to the east side, I'd definitely be into it.
All right, so it's not all bad, Steve.
Oh no, that's it's a good idea to let people buy the properties.
So
next
there were
to
some good ideas here, some things you disagree with.
But that's a little $200 idea. There's still $20 million of demolition money on the table, and there's no reason for a house down the street from him to be sitting there for 2 years not torn down. That is a travesty. Well, and then he's going to call the governor and say, "Oh, governor, please come help me. I can't negotiate with these union men. Oh, please help me, governor." Come on.
The bottom line is that everybody on this table has to work together to make sure Detroit is safe and a wonderful place to live and work. We thank you for your comments. Still to come right here on Let It Rip, he's the teenager being praised for his efforts to keep young kids out of trouble. Tonight, true confessions from this former gang member and how he turned his life around when Let It Rip continues.
With his involvement in the Youth Violence Prevention Initiative, Dante, who is here tonight, is beginning to set an example for himself and other young African-American males in our city. Dante, please stand.
Now, he's the young man recognized by Mayor Dave Bing last night for his efforts to keep teenagers away from violence. He knows firsthand the dangers of making the wrong choices, and he also knows what it takes to make our lives, our schools, our city better. Welcome back to Let It Rip. You've already met Karen Dumas, wife, mother, professional, native Detroiter. Next to her, a young man who is setting an example for all of us with his courage and leadership, Dante Kennedy. And with us for the first time, State Senator Young Hopgood of Taylor to talk about a plan to give free college tuition to every student in Michigan. And of course, we all know Charlie Langton. Both he and Karen have kids in college right now. But let's begin with this young hero, Dante Kennedy. Now, the word is you used to be a gangbanger. How did you go from being a menace to society to a leader for peace?
Well, you know, as a young man coming up where I came from, so, you know, it was a lot of gang violence going on, you know, not a peer pressure on what you want to do, what you want to be when you grow up. And the best thing for us was selling drugs. So
did you do that?
No, I ain't sell drugs.
Okay.
I ain't do none of that.
Okay.
But you know, I challenged myself academically from my story that I've been through and all that. So that basically.
How hard was it for you to say no to that? Because there is peer pressure in high school. You go to Osborne High School, right?
Yes.
Junior and Osborne. There is peer pressure outside and inside that school. Sometimes to do wrong, sometimes to do right. How did you fight the peer pressure?
I fought it by basically just, you know, I'm confident with myself, not to do anything ignorant and mess up my body, and, you know, keep myself healthy, you know, keep myself away from other stuff. Like far as, you know, I can go out here and do something retarded, like selling drugs and get myself killed. So I'd rather just keep away, bring other people away from the violence and bring them into the schools, you know, where I handle my business best, in the classroom.
Well, you were one of the leaders in the Youth Prevention Initiative program, and I understand that you invited Chief Ralph Godby and the police officers to play in a game of basketball so that you could interact with each other away from a crime scene at the yellow tape. How did that go?
Oh, that went well. The basketball game actually was great. So, you know, we actually lost, boo. But I want to give a special shout out to Miss Z and, you know, Mr. McGee. We all sat down, we got that together. But I also want to give a special shout out to the Chief, too. That's my main man on the green.
Well, it's good to hear young people talking about the chief of police being their heroes. And Karen, you've been talking about this a long time. Preventing crime starts early and often in the home and beyond.
It starts at home, Huel, and I'll tell you this, and Dante and I had the opportunity to talk in the green room. What kids need is the other voice outside of what they are getting or not getting at home. So when we hear, you know, the community say, how do we resolve the issue of violence? We need people to be mentors. We need people to look kids in the eye and speak to them. We need them to inject themselves in their lives because they need our support. I had the opportunity to speak at a couple schools over the past week, and the conversations that these kids have would blow you away. But it's insight into their lives that we can't even imagine. They have challenges. They need us like never before. So it's not the government, it's not the police, it's not the schools, it's us as a community.
Well, Senator Hopgood, though, wouldn't it be wonderful to send this young Osborne High junior to college one day using the new program that you and your fellow state Democrats are proposing, that is free college tuition for every student in Michigan? How would that work?
Well, it's the Michigan 2020 plan, and, you know, Dante, I think, is a perfect example of thousands of kids out there that are looking for opportunity, that are looking for a chance to go to college, to really take that next step. You know, as a politician, I tell kids all the time, I'm in schools, get an education, go out there and keep on going, and don't just stop with a 2-year degree or even a 4-year degree. Keep on going. This is a way where we're putting our money where our mouths are.
You talk about money.
We're supporting our kids going to college and taking that step that they need.
Well, you mentioned money. You're talking about, what, a $1.8 billion program. How are you going to pay for that?
Well, it's $9,500 per year for a young person to go to community college, a university, or a trade school, get the skills that they need to have a career. And so that's the important part. There's just absolutely wonderful benefits for our communities, for our society, but we're going to look at our system of tax credits that are out there. We have some $35 billion in tax credits, and we need to review those periodically. And so we're setting up a system where we look at them every 4 years. We require them that they come back to the legislature, and then we can review them. We set up a grading system where when we're talking about tax credits, tax incentives, we're going to grade them and say, what's the value to the public? How are they bringing in jobs? How are they benefiting our neighborhoods and our communities? Because if they're not, then we need to pull that money in and give it to kids.
And put it into the 2020 program. Now, Charlie, I know some of your conservative friends are going to say, well, look, this is just another entitlement program. This is just another way to spend taxpayers' money, to spend money we don't have.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. The concept of free education is a fantastic. That's what we need. Education, the more education you have, chances are the more money you'll make.
But it's not a right.
We all know that. But it is not a right. And so tax incentives for business, to get business, to lure business into Michigan is also a priority for the state as well. It's just a balancing test. I mean, if there's that much waste in tax abatements, I'd like to see it. I'll bet you, though, you'll have a lot of opposition, though, from some companies that'll say, hey, wait a minute, we were lured here by this tax abatement. We set up shop in Michigan. We created jobs in Michigan. And we are creating the kind of environment that everyone wants. So there is a balancing test. I just want to see the details. That's all.
Now, and you and Karen both have kids in college right now, and I assume you have both contributed to the Michigan educational program. But
my daughter's out of state.
But wouldn't you? I'm sure you'd love to have some help.
I'll take the money.
But you guys are in that 1%. I don't know if you need the help.
No.
I mean, that's Charlie.
Does financial aid have anything to do with it? I mean, should a man like Charlie, who may make a lot of money, get the same aid as somebody who doesn't make much money?
Well, actually, we're going to have people go through the financial aid system and see what they can qualify and offset that to help pay to help extend more opportunity for more kids. But the other side of it, it's all about setting priorities. We're like 42nd in the country in terms of per capita support for higher education. We have gradually disinvested in higher education. So when we say other things are a priority, yeah, but let's just all judge them all together, put them on the plate, make us look at them, and make sure that they're bringing the value to the public.
Prisons in there too. We
exactly.
spend more money locking people up. It costs more money to jail someone than it does to send them to the University of Michigan or Michigan State. That's ridiculous.
$2 billion a year in corrections, 1.5 in higher ed. 1.5.
Take that money and put it to education. That's what I'd be doing.
Dante, I know you're headed to college. What are you going to major in?
I want to major in business.
Now that's good. So maybe you'll make a lot of money one day yourself. But now, are degrees worth the same? Is a business degree worth the same as a degree in theater, an undergrad major in theater? But a theater degree doesn't necessarily pay as much as a business degree, as much as a medical degree, or science or engineering degree.
The regions and the states that have the most talent and the highest level of skilled workforces wins. Let's do that.
And what if a degree takes longer than 4 years to complete? What if some students take longer than 4 or 5 years to get through to college? I mean, are you still going to pay?
We give you 5 years, but we leave it up to the institution to say what is adequate academic progress. There's checks and balances put into this, for sure. But we want to get more opportunities to young kids.
The bottom line, and this is already working on a private level in the city of Kalamazoo. There's what's called the Kalamazoo Promise, where private billionaires and millionaires got together and decided that every school-aged child in Kalamazoo would get a college education, and it's working. So maybe we can do it in the state of Michigan.
We had set up something in terms of that, in terms of promise zones, where communities could set up, raise local dollars and
that may be the answer.
Yeah.
All right. Of course, it's just on the table. We'll discuss it more. We thank you for your insights, and we thank you for your courage, young man. Keep it up. As always, we thank you for listening as well. Still to come right here on Let It Rip, the mayor's plan to allow homeowners to buy vacant lots next door just for a few $100. So would you take it? We'll look at the pros and cons when Charlie takes the show on the road. Stay with us. Charlie's on the road. Where'd you go?
Southwest Detroit. That's where the project that the mayor is talking about, giving those vacant lots to the people in there. Let's see what they said. The mayor has a plan that property owners can buy vacant lots in Detroit for $200. What do you think about that?
I think it's a good idea because it'll improve the city.
This is good for 200.
Yeah.
Wow.
How does it make you feel in this neighborhood when there's so many vacant houses and lots?
I'm scared. It's too many. It's terrible. I mean, there's so much. It's bad.
And what's on these lots?
Garbage. Lots of garbage. People just throw trash in them. We have to be cleaning them. Like, there's trash over there in the corner, and with no ownership, it's going to continue like that.
If you own that lot, would you pick up all that garbage and stuff on there for $200? It'd be yours.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
fast.
And that would help the property values, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would make Detroit look nicer, I think.
But you got to pay the taxes every year, right?
The taxes, though, on $200, that's not that much. It's probably about as much as a taco.
That's true, too.
Think we should expand this to houses, too?
Yes. Houses, buildings, restaurants, businesses, whatever brings, like I said, whatever brings money to the city, if we really need it.
Would you buy a house for $200?
Yes, but I'm not a homeowner, but I would.
You would be, though.
I would, yeah.
There you go.
That's what's going to happen.
You have $200?
I can get it in a minute.
For a new house?
Yeah. Yep. Oh, yeah.
So would you take the deal? One-word answer.
Yes.
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 It's unanimous.
Yes.
We thank you for your comments. We thank you for watching. That's it for this edition of Let It Rip.